Yeah, no, I think we're just focusing on our next opponent, which is important. I don't think so because it's different. We're on the road. We're motivated to go on this little road trip and prove that we can win outside of this arena.
It's kind of what I was going to ask you. Just like first true road game of the season, what are you wanting to see out of the team tomorrow, especially against a team that forced overtime here last year?
Yeah, I think we need to go, and it needs to look like our practice. We need to push pace. We said it. I think I said it in this media. If not, I said it to the team yesterday. I'm a little bit worried about us going and trying to launch 60 more threes on the road. We need to be able to get to the rim. We need to go in transition. All of those things are important, so we're focusing on that in practice.
Hey, Coach, what's it like breaking down film from a game like the other day? Obviously, if there's a loss or if it's a hard-fought, close game, it might be different than when you break down a game that was kind of lopsided like that, but all the good that was done. What's it like breaking down that game?
Yeah, we just watched the bad. So we just watched the missed box outs, and I think that's the way of the world right now. Or they can watch the good on the internet. Right, their highlights are all over the place. Everyone else is telling them they're great. It's my job to make sure that they're back down to earth. So we're just watching the things we need to fix, and then we're moving it on.
Dee Hagman's scheduled to make her Memphis debut tomorrow. What's the challenge of scouting for a team who hasn't had their arguably best player the whole season? And is it helpful at all to have Ruby Whitehorn, who played with her in high school and is very familiar with her game?
Yeah, a little bit. It's tough. I wish that we had played a couple days sooner. She's going to be really good for their press offense. She's really good with the ball. She makes everyone better. And so it's just going to be a different look. We need to be prepared just for a different team. And that sometimes is hard to translate to them, that the team is going to be ready for you. They're going to be ready to win, and they have new players, and they have something to prove now.
Do you have any injury updates on Kanaya and Jewel?
They're expected to return today to practice, so we'll see how they do.
You repeatedly talk about missed box outs. How much better has this team gotten at boxing out from where you were in the preseason, and what do they have to do to get to the level that you expect as a boxing out team?
Yeah, I don't know that we've gotten any better, and that's why I keep talking about it. And it's our opponents. We're bigger than our opponents, so we don't have to box out. We can just out jump them. And there's going to be a day and a time where we are not, and it's really going to hurt us. And it may be one of those things where we just have to learn that lesson until they realize how important it is.
I know you just talked about boxing out, but is there anything else that you really feel like this team needs to learn in the next 4 games before you get to conference play? Like, is there anything else on your list that you're watching for in these games that you want to see marked improvement in?
Yeah, our turnovers need to come down. I think a lot of our turnovers the last few games have been self-imposed. We've turned ourselves over. And so just making sure that we're taking care of the ball, we're not doing too much, and still think we could share the ball a little bit more on offense.
Similar to Brent's question about half-court defense, is that something you feel like they've kind of realized that needs to improve after you've harped on it?
Yeah, I do. I think that they take a little pride on it. We're never going to back off of that. They're always going to be held accountable for not being in the right position, not playing as a team, and so I think they know that now.
Building off of that, where in game are you able to maybe make those adjustments, or is it just something that you work in practice and you hope it translates to the game where you can have that half-court defense you want for a longer stretch of the game?
Yeah, I think we talk about it all the time. Well, we prep it, and then if we need to make adjustments based on the scout or substitutions, people aren't getting it done, or switch up who you're guarding, we can make all of those adjustments in the game.
You said on a couple of different occasions this team likes to be coached hard, or accepts hard coaching, I think is the better way to say it. When did you realize that, and how pivotal has that been to maybe accelerate some of this process of getting everything that you have installed, getting ready for what's coming up here in the first of the year?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge that they can take it. It's huge that they respond well to it, that they listen. I think it says a lot about them, about how good they want to be, and that they just do it. I definitely don't think they like it. I think it's uncomfortable. But anytime you can get a young person to be uncomfortable and push through it, I think that's where the growth is, and I think we are growing.
What's impressed you most about Tess Darby when it comes to that press defense and how much she's able to apply that pressure and force turnovers?
Yeah, she's just smart. She just knows her angles. She knows when to rotate up. She knows when to rotate back. She uses her length, and so she's gotten really good at it.
Wanted to ask you a question about Nolan. You know, obviously he had familiarity with what this system requires working with you at Glenville State, but just seeing his work over, the off season and going into this season, the results and the way he approaches the job, just what makes him the right guy for this job?
Yeah, it's perfect for us because he doesn't have an ego and he doesn't have this strict plan that he needs to enforce. He's adaptable and he'll see what we do in practice and he'll base what he wants to do after practice off of what we do in practice. So if I get mad and practice goes a little bit longer or turns into a little bit more conditioning or more running, then he's just not going to continue to do what he already had planned. He's going to adapt and he's going to do what they need rather than what he already had scheduled. And I think that that's really important. He does a good job of relating to the players. He motivates them. He's all into what we do. And so it's really nice not to have someone where I have to go explain myself to every single day. He just knows how to do it.
Going back to that tough coaching, what was that process like to get the team comfortable with that uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think it took some time. I think we established it over the summer. They were really uncomfortable over the summer, but they did it. They're close. They did it together. And I think at the end of every week during the preseason, they were really proud of what they did. And they were really proud of what they accomplished, and they accomplished it together.
Where will you need Z Spearman to impact the game on defense ahead of Memphis? Is it going to be somewhere down in the post, or how impactful do you need her to be?
Yeah, I think we need her every single game. We'd like to keep her out of foul trouble. That helps. But she can impact the game from anywhere. She can impact it from driving, shooting, and at the rim, which is huge. I think we could get a little more out of her on rebounds, of just going to get offensive rebounds, getting us extra possessions, and making sure we're boxing out. But, I mean, she's going to be big for us guarding, too, at the rim.
What do you look for in a road trip like this off the court? What are you taking notes of to see kind of the maturity of your team and how they handle that? How much do you spend kind of observing body language and all those types of things when you're going to this type of week that you've got coming up?
Yeah, it's big. It's a hard week. We have quick turnaround with 3 good opponents. So making sure that they're taking care of their bodies, they're eating what they need to eat, they're not acting like little kids, hanging out all night. They're getting rest. They're waking up for breakfast. They're taking notes on their scout. They're watching film. They're watching the previous game, even when we may not have time to watch it as a team, that they're watching it on their phones from one trip to the other. All of those things, to me, identify a really strong team.
How did you see Samara respond in practice after that record-breaking performance, and how important is it for somebody like that after that performance to stay focused on what's coming up next?
Yeah, I went up to her and I said, do you have a big head, or do I need to be on you all day to stay in practice? And she just kind of laughed, and she actually had a great practice yesterday.
You mentioned like the quick turnaround and make sure everyone is focused. What will this teach you maybe about the leadership and how veteran-led this team maybe is in this stretch?
Yeah, I think it will teach us a lot. You always want your players to be watching the game they just played, no matter how it went. You know, they have access to it. They can get it on their phones. They should be watching it on the bus. They should be watching it on the plane. And then you always want your players on their own to be watching their next opponent. And so they should be watching it on their phones. They don't have school, so it's not that they have homework. So they should really be paying attention to either improving the last game or making sure they're prepared for the next game. How in-depth they pay attention to their scouts. Do they have their scouts? Do they know their personnel? All of those things, as opposed to just hanging out and not doing anything and watching Netflix.